I'd like you to do something for me. Can you close your eyes? And imagine you're in a consultant's office and you're waiting for the results of a mammogram you had some 2 hours earlier. And the words that break the silence are, "I'm afraid you have cancer." You can open your eyes. These are the words that will change your life. There will be no going back to this point. And what you do next and how you deal with this diagnosis will undoubtedly shape the rest of your life. On the 2nd of November, 2016, I was diagnosed with invasive ductal cancer in the left breast. I'd gone to the consultants with an air of complacency, as my GP had assured me it was just a cyst and there was nothing to worry about. So when those words were said out loud, I could feel the room closing in on me and the voices becoming muffled. It was like I was being transported to another world. And then out of the fog, I heard the words early and cure. Instantly, I was snapped back to reality and began to listen to what the coming months had in store for me. Cancer treatment takes a unique path. It's almost bespoke. So after numerous clinical tests, it was concluded that I would need 16 rounds of chemo, double breast surgery, and 25 rounds of radiotherapy, at least. Now, this may seem like an obtrusive amount of medical intervention. However, my tumour was 4 centimetres by 5 and was going to require a formidable approach. I had no idea what the future had in store for me. But as a PE teacher, and in truly competitive fashion, there was no way this was going to beat me. Well, not without a bloody good fight anyway. Cancer treatment is gruelling, both physically and emotionally. The physical assault, I think, is apparent. Any patient with a schedule of treatment similar to mine can expect to deal with an array of physical side effects. For example, hair loss, sickness, and weight gain. But now that I think about it, there are physical side effects that cancer patients don't discuss. Constipation, hemorrhoids, burning whilst you pee, insomnia. None of these things make pleasant coffee conversation. And then there's the surgical scars. Many women struggle with the drastic nature of the surgery and the long-lasting impact of having your body altered to eradicate disease. Now, there's much documentation about the physical side effects, but it is my belief and experience that the psychological effects run way deeper and push you much further to the edge than seems possible. A bit like giving a TED talk. Your life changes suddenly and profoundly after diagnosis, but thankfully you become the focus of a highly talented and caring team of experts, from oncology nurses to radiotherapists, from surgeons to psychiatrists. I will be forever grateful for the outstanding care that my team gave me. They truly did save my life, and I have them to thank for being able to stand up here today. From hearing those words out loud until walking out my very last radiotherapy session, 320 days had passed. I'd spent almost a year being looked after, and suddenly I was orphaned from a routine made up of dates, chemo, surgery, and radiotherapy. They had become familiar, almost comforting. So when the day came to walk out of the treatment suite for the last time, I can honestly say I felt scared. I thought I would feel happy, excited, or even elated it was over, but that simply wasn't the case. I didn't want to tell anyone else of this fear, as it seemed silly to admit that I didn't want to leave. The truth is, when being treated for cancer, the disease that's slowly trying to kill you, you do feel safer in the knowledge that you're being looked after daily by professionals. Now, in preparation for the end of treatment, there's a lot of talk about going back to your old self or finding your new normal. What does that really mean, new normal? I stand here today and I still don't really know what it means. I was so naive. I thought that when my treatment was finished, I would bounce back and be my old self within a few months. But when I didn't bounce back or find my new normal, that was when the enormity of this experience finally hit me. And I stand here today, still struggling with the physical and emotional scars. I'm not ashamed to tell you that within months of finishing my treatment, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. I had, in my own stubborn style, not dealt with the emotional impact of this journey. I was angry and unable to deal with the fear of reoccurrence. What if it came back? What if I died this time? The what-ifs were huge. And it's only now, 18 months after treatment and considerable support later, that I'm just beginning to let go of my cancer experience. I took great solace of the words that a fellow cancer survivor shared on social media recently. She said, "If you keep trying to get back to your old self, you will keep failing and blaming cancer for not being who you used to be." Now, I'm sure these words will resonate with many cancer survivors. The truth is, you know what it means to go through hell and survive. You are stronger and you are more courageous, so it's only natural that you will never be your old self again. So with these thoughts in mind, I started to reflect on what it means to move on after cancer. The truth is, the aftermath is tough, if not that little bit tougher. The determination I needed during treatment was the same determination I needed afterwards. And coming to terms with the physical changes was a challenge. My body didn't look like mine anymore. The mirror didn't reflect my old self. Instead, a badly scarred and steroid-swollen imposter stood in her place. This imposter had stolen my confidence, clouded my brain, and left me dependent on medication for at least 10 years. I was prescribed with a drug called letrozole. It's a strong estrogen suppressor. And daily, its side effects are fatigue, dizziness, and headaches. And then there's the long-term risk of osteoporosis. But all of these things are preferable than ever facing chemo again. This is my reality. And this is my new normal. I cried many private tears over the months, but it wasn't until a routine check in the December after treatment had finished that I cried in front of my oncology team for the first time. It was then my oncologist said to me, "This is the first time I've seen a chink in your armour, and I strongly recommend you get some psychological support." Now, talking to a therapist or a psychiatrist at any point during treatment can be comforting. I was lucky to have the support of a phenomenal onco-psychiatrist. She helped me get back on my feet, and she helped me rebuild. When I say rebuild, I mean more of a reboot. I had to learn to slow down and change my priorities. Before becoming ill, I was all things to everyone. Daughter, wife, mum, friend, teacher, and I never said no. So this was one of the first things I was encouraged to change. I had to learn to pull back and put myself first. Now, any of you will know me, will know how much of a challenge this is and why none of this came naturally to me. But the truth is, when I did become more self-centered and learned the word no, that was when I suddenly started to feel more relaxed and my anxiety was more under control. Self-reflection is a difficult process under any circumstances, but when illness forces that process, you must sit up and take notice. There are lessons to be learnt from this journey, and it is my advice that you get as much help and support as possible. I am one of millions of cancer survivors, living in the hope that it never comes back, but also trying to prove that you can rebuild and live a fulfilling life beyond diagnosis. Thank you for listening.